Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bikepack Adventures Podcast. I don't have too much to talk about this week before we kick off into this episode, but I thought I would tell you a bit about fat biking. I've been out fat biking a fair bit recently, and two rides that I really enjoyed. One of which was with Buckaroo, and he met up with me at Domain Kanawe, which is about a half hour from where I live. And it's actually a mountain bike trail system that they groom for fat biking, and it was wicked fun. I mean, we're talking like pretty tough climbs sometimes, but really fun downhills, rollers, little jumps and stuff. I think I crashed once, which wasn't too bad. Yeah, super fun. Had such a blast there. And the other time was at La Rose Forest, which is a much more beginner-friendly bike, fat biking place. And I took my wife, and she really struggled for the first 2.5 kilometers because it was the first time she's actually fat biked on trails, other than like a rail trail. And after that, all of a sudden it was like a light switch, and she figured it out, and she got faster, and she was able to go around curves better and go up and down all the little challenges, and it was super cool to see that, because prior to that she had been, really struggling. So I had a lot of fun there, and that was really cool. Anyways, next thing is your continued support of the podcast really helps keep the show going, and here are a few ways you can help. First off, as always, share interviews and episodes you like with friends and family. Helping to get more people listening is really one of the best ways you can help. And this could just be by sharing the social media content as well if you're on Instagram or Facebook. You could also leave an Apple review. These are also very helpful. I think they help with analytics and exposure, search engine stuff, and I really don't know, but that's what I presume. And lastly, you can consider becoming a supporter of the podcast by joining Patreon as a sustaining member by going to patreon.com/bikepackadventures. Obviously, the continued support is what helps keep the podcast going. Actually, there is one more way. In the show notes of the podcast, there are a couple of affiliate links. So if you happen to be buying products from Redshift Sports, or if you plan on buying a bike and buying a bike from Panorama Cycles, that helps out the podcast as well. So you could use those affiliate links. Anyways, that's it. Now, on to the latest episode. In this episode of the Bikepack Adventures Podcast, I speak with Paul Bergeron, an avid cyclist with a background in freeskiing who turned to biking after a severe accident. Paul shares his experiences of bike touring and bikepacking, focusing on his latest adventure along the Great Divide mountain bike route with his father, who has survived 2 brain aneurysms and heart surgery. Paul discusses the logistics of the trip, challenges faced, including dealing with injuries and extreme weather conditions, their bike setups, diet, and the inspirational people they met along the way. Paul also touches on his past bike trips, the importance of preparation and gear testing, and his future plans for bikepacking trips. Paul, welcome to the Bikepack Adventures Podcast.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thanks for carving out some time for me during the holidays. I appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. It's actually probably the time of the year where I get the most done. It's like just summer seems to go by so fast. Everything kind of ramps down, and then September, October is really good, and then all of a sudden November, December, we're getting in towards third or fourth month of school, and the kids are all a pain, and I'm trying to get things, trying to get through stuff before report cards come in January, and then next thing you know, I'm like, I haven't done anything in weeks. So just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, your audio is a little quiet, but I think I can work with that. So
I'll try to speak a little louder for you.
there you go. So anyways, yeah, Paul, tell us about yourself. Like, who are you? Where are you from? And all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a professional cyclist by any means, but I come from a background of free skiing, and I had a pretty big accident doing that. And so I'd always done biking when I was younger, so not being able to ski anymore, I came back to biking, which is a lot softer and enables me to push myself in different ways, not as much as adrenaline driven, but
Yeah.
long distance stuff and camping and all that stuff. And my dad also bikes quite a lot, so we were able to mix together and to make some things happen. And
Cool.
yeah. That's about it.
Free skiing, is that the one where you go down the moguls, hit the big jumps, do some bunch of flips, and do the same thing again?
No more goals for me. It was more
Okay.
jumps and rails and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I undershot a jump and hit the knuckle, and so shattered both heels, broke both ankles, and a lot of bones in the feet. So
Oh,
you can
damn.
imagine that it was a long recovery, and I've always been looking for something that I was able to do for a long time afterwards. So
Yeah.
biking it is.
Yeah, I guess when you come down, if you're doing flips and stuff, like you hit pretty hard. So if you miss, if you overshoot or undershoot, you're gonna cause some damage. Huh?
Yeah. And so now that I'm getting older a little bit, I'm trying to stay on the ground
What are you,
as
like
much as I can.
26?
No, I'm 33. Thank
Oh,
you,
okay,
though.
there you
Appreciate it.
go.
Yeah, 33.
Nice. Yeah, I did notice through your Instagram that like there's a lot of sports you've done. Like there's like skidoo pictures. There's a lot of skiing and snowboarding type things.
Yeah,
You've just
yeah.
done a lot, right?
Yeah, and a lot of mountain biking when I grew up because we lived in Lac Beauport, which is a small town in Quebec, and we basically lived in a forest there. So I've done a lot of mountain biking when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now mountain biking is a bit too risky for me, I find. So I
Oh
just
yeah.
stick to, yeah, it's a bit hard on the ankles and stuff. And I just, it took so much time to recover that now I just want to make it less risky. So yeah, gravel is good. I like gravel a lot. I've done my fair share of road trips, but I'm moving towards gravel and
Yeah,
less travel
yeah.
roads the more and more I grow up.
Nice. And where's Bhopal? It's is it like
Lac Beauport is right before Stoneyham,
okay?
going north of Quebec. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Beauport is a bit going east, and Lac Beauport is north of that.
Okay.
So yeah, grew up
And
right in front of a ski resort.
okay. And you mentioned your dad was is quite a cyclist too. So did you grow up doing like family trips on bikes or anything like that, or is it just he was kind of doing the middle-aged man in lycra type thing, and you were
No, yeah, we were biking around town where we lived, but he did like raids and stuff, like longer trips with his friends and canoe trips on multi-day as well. So
okay.
he was the right person to have the right experience to drive me into this.
Nice. And what was your first big overnighter on a bike?
Big overnighter was my by myself. You know the Canadian Shield pretty well. I rode around these parts quite a lot, and yeah, I've there was probably my first overnighter. But we did winter camping with my dad and stuff like that. So I had camped before in pretty shitty situations, if I may say. But biking was yeah up north near you would live, Chelsea in that area.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw you. I think I saw you did the Petit Trains and all in like over one night period, right? Like 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days from Saint Jérôme at the train station there. Left from
Mm-hmm.
there, went to Mont Laurier and then back. I always stopped near Mont Tremblant, but I wanted to see what was behind that. So yeah, I
Okay.
did that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your next goal is to go for 1 day, do the whole thing.
yeah.
I've known a few people
That'll be
try,
one.
like they're trying to do like from Montreal all the way to Mont Laurier and back in 24 hours, and
Yeah,
that's a tough
it's a
challenge.
nice place to push because you can put your headphones on and you know it's a pretty straight line, so you don't have much to think about, which is a kind of a downfall as well because now you really get into your head and not as
Hmm.
much as the scenery.
Yeah, and if it's a weekend, well, probably not best on a weekend because there's too many people.
Nope.
But
Yep,
yeah,
yep. I agree with you.
yeah. So yeah. So where did you go road touring? Like, what kind of road bike tours did you do? And
Yeah, my dad and I went from Vancouver to Quebec on
oh no
the
way.
yeah on Highway 1, and that was our first big one. My dad has had two brain aneurysm, open heart surgery, but he's always it didn't really it affected him obviously, but that was our first trip where we tested it out, and then we did the tour of
Wow.
Gaspésie, Saguenay, and then back. A few trips up north where you live in that area, and then some longer days too. But yeah, traversing Canada was our first longer one,
Yeah,
and then Great Divide.
yeah, and I think I heard everybody says Gaspésie is like you have to go. It's just one of those like at some point everybody should really go check it out, huh?
I've always underestimated Quebec, and that part was unknown to me, and I was really, really blown away how beautiful it was. It's a different part, different scenery, different rocks, even the colors are different, the vibe, everything is nice out it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And
So, yeah.
and challenging, right? Big hills.
Yeah, big hills, although the gradient is pretty average, for cars and stuff. It's not like too punchy. So yeah, obviously there are quite a few meters to climb, but not that bad if you're geared right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so your father, well, he's getting older, obviously, and but he's survived. You said 2 brain aneurysms, and
Yeah,
but everything's good health wise, right? He can still bike.
yeah. The only thing that he needs the most is rest. So he's not the type of guy that we're gonna go for 24 hours. We have to stop let's say we need a pretty good routine, even with eating and stuff. Like if we're in camp by 5, that's the best for him, and then he goes to bed around 7 or 8 on longer days. Not every day, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, he needs the rest, and that's about it. He gets tired, but as much as I do.
Yeah, I mean, for most people, if you bike all day, you're gonna be tired anyways, and
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing, though. And what made you guys decide to go ride the Divide?
After the traversing Canada, we were both kind of over road cycling because Highway 1 is not an easy one to go.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Ontario is really bad with shoulders and stuff like that. Although it was a really good trip, and I'd say is one that everyone should do. But the Great Divide, it's such a well documented route that made it a lot easier for us to study and to know what we were getting
Mm-hmm.
ourselves into. So yeah, I pitched it to my dad, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely the one that we're gonna go do." And yeah,
Were there any specific resources or documentaries and stuff that you guys watched that you were like, "This is what we're doing"?
all of them, to be
Every
honest.
There's so
Yeah,
many, right?
we were supposed to do it. We did it this summer, but we were supposed to do it last summer. And I'm glad that we decided to wait one more year because we had to do some gear testing and different stuff, which was really what paid off in the end. So yeah, I'd say just taking the time to do a trip like this is what pays off because you have
Mm-hmm.
to study. Although some people just shoot it blank, shoot it blind, and it works also. But we did a lot of research, and it was good for us.
Yeah. Did you do any big shakedown rides in the region where you live, or how did you prepare?
Uh, yeah, yeah, a few. Although I'm a freelancer, so I kind of pushed to do as much work as I could, but I have a trainer that I work with, which he kind of tells me what to do, and I obviously there was a lot of hours to do before this. So yeah, training, a few shakedown rides as well. But our gear was pretty tested from Gaspésie, even Canada and stuff like that. So we knew that our gear was gonna hold, and our setups didn't change that much, besides having new bikes that we
Yeah.
tested.
Okay. So what did you ride initially, and what did you change to? Like, what did you guys get for this ride?
I had well, I still have a Cannondale Topstone, which is a gravel bike, but it only fits like 42 at most.
Yeah.
Uh, and the Great Divide has evolved a lot in the last few years. Lyle and people like that used to do it on 42s and tires like this, but the trend is moving upwards a lot. And so,
Bigger is better.
yeah, and for comfort, we found new bikes, and I obviously went towards the Salsa Cutthroat with 2.25 Mescal, which
Nice.
seems to be the
Very
trend. It's like
standard. Yeah. Yeah.
70 or 85% of the bikes have that. And my dad has a Kona Sutra, so
It could take
gravel
pretty big
plus we
tires. Yeah.
Yeah, 2.4 at most. So we
Mm.
did 2.25 mezcal, both of us, tubeless, of course, and it was uh, it was really good.
How did you find the Kona Sutra for comfort in terms of like, when you hit rough sections and stuff? Because I think if I remember correctly, does have like a little higher stand up. Like it's not as trail oriented as it is, you know.
Uh, uh, my dad rode the Kona Sutra, but he has a small frame, so it's kind of mountain bike-ish shape. I find it's
Okay.
not like such high of a stack, but he loved it. He really loved it. It's a shorter stem, like 30 millimeter. He had a wider bar on it too, and yeah, he really loved it. I love the salsa as well, but we averaged 110 kilometers a day. And I understand why people now have forks, even double suspensions,
Mm.
because it's pretty rough by sections. Like it's really rough. So if
And
I was
and
to
there's
do it again, I'll go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I was going to say there's definitely a trend moving towards suspension again, right? Like if for a while everybody was like, okay, you got to be as light as possible, rigid bike, maybe throw in a suspension stem, but and now I think they're moving back to it. I think in 2021, when I did the Butter Tart 700 in Southern Ontario, the guy that was 2022. The guy that won it, he was using a full suspension bike, and I was like, "You're insane!" But he was so fast, and he just didn't get beat down. He was just not worn out. So
Yeah. I think that's the key when you want to go for longer time than just 8 hours a day or so.
yeah. And what did you guys? How did you set up your bikes? What was your packing like? Share some details on that.
Yeah, I had a pretty standard packing saddle bag, full frame bag, roll up bag in the front, with splitters on the fork, with my sleeping bag on one side, sleeping mat, and the biggest challenge was to have enough water for some sections because it was pretty dry year. So we prepared to carry about 7 or 8 liters each, and so water is always kind of a odd place to set up, Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I had a backpack also where I could put 2 liters of water, and my dad went with a back rack, like pretty standard as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, again, the rigs
I'm
of the
assuming
Great Divide.
micro panniers type thing. Some of the
Yeah, yeah,
smaller
yeah,
type panniers. Yeah.
yeah. Pretty light though, pretty light. We didn't have a lot of stuff. And again, every year when the Tour Divide leaves, there's the rigs of Tour Divide that comes up
Yep.
online, and so you kind of see the trend and where people are going, and so
Yeah.
we didn't try to copy, but we definitely were inspired 110% by that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good resource that they do there at bikepacking.com with the rigs of the different races. So you can kind of get a sense of what people are doing on this specific event, how they're setting up to be successful, right?
Yeah, and my dad is somebody that's hard to sell an idea on. So like the mezcal, he was looking at other tires, and then I sent him this, and he was like, "Yeah, I think mezcal it is." When he sees that a lot of people are doing this, he's like, "Oh, they must be good." So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I think now people are kind of branching out and trying different tires again a bit more, but I still feel like mezcals at least half the riders are using mezcals.
for how knobby they are and how big they are, the rolling resistance for us at least, we found that it was pretty minimal. Like
Mm-hmm.
some tires that are like that, you can hear the knobs when you're turning because it's so soft. This is
Yeah, yeah.
obviously not the best tire for muddy conditions, but overall, I would do it again. I would go a little wider, but I would do it the same setup.
Yeah, yeah. I had I think Theo Kelsey Verdecchia, he was riding like 2.6s or 2.6s when he some years back set the FKT on the butter tart. So and I was like, same thing. It was like, what? Such big tires, man. How and then but he crushed it. And
Yeah,
once again it's bigger is better. I guess it's just comfort, right? It doesn't slow you down so much, but it can keep your body supple and rolling.
We even saw people on fat bikes. They were not like,
Really?
yeah, they were not in the rush. Some guy from the
I,
Philippines, he took a year off and he was traveling, stopping in museum and stuff. If he did 20K a day, but he was happy with his day, that was it for him. And he was just,
that's wild.
whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, that's good setup, man. It looked good too. And
I'm
the
guessing you
guy
didn't
fit
have
it.
studs though.
No, 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 no. No.
Just in case.
No, he didn't have.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I think like he's set up though. Like you get to the bottom, you get to New Mexico and start redivert and just go hit the Baja Divide and just keep going because you're
Yeah,
gonna you'll have a great time on the fat bike when you hit Baja.
that's the one of the best part about the Great Divide. Like we left in the pretty standard time as well, like 9th of August. That's kind of a standard time to leave
Mhm.
for cyclotourism, I call myself. But you get to meet people from around the world, different setups, different mentalities, different ways of traveling, and I like that a lot because you get to talk to these people, and the preparation is from right to left and A to Z. It's nice to see how people think they're set up through and how they think that the ride is going for them.
Yeah, yeah. And so were you guys riding the Tour Divide route or the Great Divide mountain bike route? Because I know there's some slight variations.
Yeah, we did the Great Divide because the ACA is selling the packages for the maps as well. So
Ah,
uh, yeah, we knew that they upgraded some sections in 2024. So we just bought the pack for the maps and didn't have to, because I know the Tour Divide goes through some parts of the trail that are more of the CDT, like the hike a bike sections
mhm.
and the nightmare sections, as some call them. So we just did the Great Divide, which reroutes you to easier places for these sections. But yeah,
Mhm.
Great Divide.
Nice. And oh, I wanted to ask as well, like, were you and your dad sharing a tent to minimize weight, or did you kind of have your own sleep setups to have some space from each other?
No, we always in all the past trips, always a 2% tent, and mats are there could
It's cozy,
not
yeah.
be as oh yeah, 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 it's very very tight. But we are easy sleepers in tent. We sleep on our backs, and it didn't affect us. We like it this way because it's much smaller than carrying two tents,
Yeah.
and it's a big Agnes tent. They do it right too, so we
Which
have
one do you
confidence in
use?
that one. Uh, I'm not sure the one that Seed House too. The Seed House too. I'm not sure they do it. They still do it,
Okay.
but but after the Great Divide, we bought a 3% one for the next trips.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking
Yeah,
about getting I want to get a 3-person tent by this summer as well for a family trip. And
yeah,
that's the one thing I don't have is I don't have a tent that fits myself, my wife, my baby. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get something. But anyways, I might go with Big Agnes.
yeah. Good choice.
Yeah.
I'd recommend for sure.
The one person complained. They said that when they did the Baja Divide, the little buckles, because everything's like little buckles when you put the covers on and stuff. They said they would get ingress with sand, and it was really hard to like clip them together and unclip them. And I was like, oh, I would
Yeah,
not expected that. But
yeah. We didn't have that problem, but I can see how this could happen. Yeah, yeah. Because they're like backpacks, so clip on,
yeah,
clip out. They're pretty small as well, so, and they're low to the ground. So if they're in sand all day, of course, they might get jammed up.
I figure like just I mean, worst case scenario, as you assemble it, you just kind of bend over and blow on
Yeah,
it a
yeah,
bit and
yeah.
get the sand out and then just clip it. Like it's probably not that big a deal. But
No, no, no.
I
I
know he
agree.
said it was a pain in the ass a little bit.
But every gear is gonna have his share of
Nothing is
down.
perfect. That's right.
No, exactly.
I've always been a big fan of tarp tent.
Yeah, yeah,
I bought one in like 2015 or 16, and
yeah.
but it's a 1.5 man tent. Like you can fit 2 mats. It's real cozy, and but I would love to get to upgrade, but they're also
Yeah,
expensive. I'm just like, cost.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got it on the last hunt, the one that we just bought last
Oh,
hunt. Yeah, it was half
yeah, yeah.
price. So it was pretty cheap, and I forgot the model that it is, but it's a pretty standard one for Great Divide as well.
Yeah, yeah. The last time, man, it's so cool because like even there, like some of the prices are so low that you're like, it's even if you were sponsored by a company, you couldn't get it that cheap, Like
Yeah,
I think
but it's true.
a friend of mine came over the other day to go fat biking and he had a dropper post on his fat bike and mine is really jamming up. It's I think I bent it a bit somehow. Anyways, he was like, yeah, I bought it off of I forget what store now in Toronto, and he said Sweet Pete's. He said it was $66. And I'm like, no way. And they were OEM Trans-X droppers that came off of bikes that people bought and upgraded right away. So they were brand new,
Yeah.
and they were just selling them for like not even 33%.
Nice. That's a
I
great
think it was
deal.
30%. I think it was 70% off. So I just right away bought one for my wife, bought one for myself for our fat bikes. I'm gonna switch mine
Yeah.
out because I think it'll be a little better condition than the one I currently have. And I was like, man, what a price! Like, you got to get stuff
Always nice to get a
when they're on
deal.
sale because you'll never.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such an expensive sport, every aspect of it. Do you
Yeah.
fat bike out there in northern Quebec, or are you still in?
No, I live in Montreal
Oh, you
now.
live in Montreal now. Okay.
Yeah, I biked for one winter, but the salt and everything went through my bike pretty hardly,
Yeah.
so now I just bike inside. If I would live up north a bit more, I would do it for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
fat biking around Montreal is kind of not the greatest place, so
Yeah.
yeah, I just unfortunately indoor trainer for me in the winter time.
Although, although kudos to Montreal and Quebec in general for how much they're doing for infrastructure for cycling because I
Yeah.
don't know if you ever see the stuff about Toronto, but man, it's a shit show how
Oh yeah.
anti-cycling like Doug Ford is and every aspect of politics and police and everything. And meanwhile, in Quebec, it's one of the best cycling places maybe in the world, like in terms of how
Yeah.
they treat cyclists.
Yeah, it's very good. And even in the winter, the cycling path are always the snow is removed from them pretty quickly. And
Oh yeah,
Big C,
nice.
like the city bikes now, have studded tires, so they rent them all year round.
Oh
So you
wow,
can go on
cool.
a city bike now.
Nice. Yeah, like here in
Yeah.
even in Gatineau, it's not like that. It's not as good. They'll clear the pathways, not around the Gatineau Park. It's kind of a pain. So some of them are just outside the Gatineau Park, and you're expecting that it would be cleared, and then they make it multi-use, and nobody can use it but a cross-country
Yeah.
skier because even walkers aren't going to go on that. It's too rough, too hard. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of annoys me, but sometimes they clean the pathways and then the snowplow comes by on the road later and then just covers the pathway. And I'm like, come on, guys, think about it. Like, let's make it safe, like this is not safe and pretty annoying.
Because you
But
travel to
anyways,
work every day, right?
yeah, pretty much. I think I'm around 90% right now. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
it's a 50K round trip. So I mean, it's
50K.
an e-bike. Yeah, it's an e-bike. So life is easy, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't look forward to like checking out how all the components are doing in the spring.
I think dressing up is the worst part of that, though.
Well, with the e-bike, it's not too bad because I mean you
Okay.
can put layers on, but you're not going to overheat as much because it's just
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
easier. Yeah, and when I come home, I do try to like typically if it's a slushy day, I'll come home and I'll one of those little weed sprayers, that you pump up
Yep, yep.
with soapy water in it, and I just spray the bike down and then take the compressor and blow off the water as much as I can, and then add a bit of wax or lube or whatever I'm doing to my chain at the time. So
Yeah, a good idea for sure.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, back to the tour. You guys left on August 9th, and what was it like? I mean, this is probably the hardest adventure yet for the two of you after riding paved so much.
Yeah, we left from Banff with a kind of a feeling of excitement and the unknown, although we saw a lot of pictures and we know where we're going. But yeah, we left from Banff, and as soon as you enter the trail, it's like right behind the Fairmont there, and it looks like some random trail, but you enter there and you're like, all right, we're going to New Mexico. And then the scenery is beautiful. Everything is beautiful about it. Canada part was top tier, and yeah, the excitement is through the roof at this point. And
Were there
then
any other cyclists with you at the time, or is it just the two of you?
no, but we saw people ending their journey there
Okay.
that were going northbound. So it was pretty exciting to see. They were like, "Oh, you guys are gonna have a lot of fun," and that was good to know.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, tell us more about the journey.
After we left, there was quite a few fires that were going on, so that was our main concern. But as we moved down south, everything kind of resolved themselves by itself. And crossing the border, going into Montana, I had never been into desert places so much, and so for us, it was kind of like in a movie, cowboy movies and stuff like this. So, see, just being surrounded by nothing. Although Montana has quite a lot of trees, but the Great Basin, Wyoming, that area, it's just empty, empty land, and you really feel like you're on a trip there, and you have to figure out water and food, of course. But we had done our researches on that as well. But yeah, just being where you feel like you would never go, like you'd never drive there to see this, I don't think, But
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
bike there, it's every meter that you go forward is something new. So it's a lot more fun than doing the same loop every day when you're at home.
Yeah, yeah. And as a cycle tourist, as you'd call yourself, I mean, it's very different than from some of the racers I've spoken to who can blast through something like the Great Basin in a day and a half or 2 days.
Yeah.
Um, how long were you there, and like, what were some of the challenges? You did mention water. What other challenges do you face when going at a slower pace, and time management and stuff?
110 average was kind of the best to get us through something every day or so. And 110, sometimes we did more, sometimes we did less, but we always tried to get to some place uh, on that day, or to some resupply spot, or at
Okay.
least to a water reservoir or something like that. So that made it a lot easier for us, because then you don't have to carry as much stuff. Like people that do maybe 50K, 60K a day, maybe they go 3 days, whereas we would go one day
Right.
without food or something like that. So it makes it easier to carry less stuff when you do more. So that's why, like the Tour Divide people, I think they go through so much stuff in one day, like probably 4 times as much as we did. So you have to carry a little less, but yeah, around 110 a day was the perfect number. We weren't like without anything for that long of a time, so it was
Mm.
good. And we didn't have that much rain. Well, not at all. We had maybe 12 hours of rain
Oh, really? That's
north.
awesome. So no peanut
Yeah.
butter mud, and
Oh, yeah, that's the one thing. The one time that we got
the one
rain, we
time
were in
rain.
that, yeah, yeah, in New Mexico, on San Lucas Road, I think it was called. It was only supposed to be 20% chance of rain, but 20% chance in Quebec, it never rains basically. So we're like, whatever. And it rained all night. The next morning, we packed our stuff. We tried to bike, maybe 100 feet, like 500 feet. Everything was kicked up, and we weren't able to roll anymore. Not even
Yeah,
like
yeah. You
push the
couldn't even.
bike.
Yeah, yeah. It would only
So we
slide,
just,
right? If you try to push, you're just like the
yeah.
bike is sliding in the mud.
So we still had 70K to do on that road. So I told my dad there's nothing we can do about it. So we pitched our tent again. We slept till noon. So I think we were pretty tired if we slept till noon
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah.
And then the sun came out, and we waited 8 hours total before it dried up, and we were able to make it out. But everyone that we saw after that, we had went past a few days before, they didn't go, and it was a good thing for them, because they didn't have to deal with that stuff. Although it was one of the
Mhm.
most beautiful part of the trip.
Yeah, yeah. And how is temperature wise though? Starting in August, it's pretty hot even in Canada in August.
Yeah,
How was it throughout the journey? Like, how long did your trip take in total? I guess like 45 days kind of thing, or 40 days?
Yeah, 41 days of biking.
41 days.
We took 3 days off, so 44 total.
Okay, 44 days. Yeah, I was thinking 4,400 kilometers ish. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
about 44 days. And yeah, how was it temperature wise? Because you know that's like the hottest part of August going into September. Can be still pretty warm.
Our goal was to make it to the desert a little later, especially New Mexico, because I'm pretty bad with dealing with heat. So before
Okay.
the trip, I did a lot of sauna acclimatation
Okay.
because I'm really bad with heat, and that
With the
helped me a
trainer in
lot.
the sauna or
After training, the sauna is behind the trainer
okay.
inside in the basement. So after a training ride, I'd go in the sauna right away and do this for quite a while, and it really helped. But the warmest it was 36 degrees, so it wasn't so
It's
bad.
not too bad.
It's just that there's no shade at this point. So if you
Mhm.
start feeling bad, you have to find a way to cool yourself down. But having enough water worked out as well. But Colorado was like -5 in the morning sometimes, and it would get to almost 25 later in the day. So that's quite a big gap.
Wow,
So
it's
yeah,
-5 just in like September?
in Silverthorne, the higher places,
Yep.
because Colorado, you climb pretty high.
Pretty high, right?
So we had a few nights that were really really cold. Like weren't expecting this cold of mornings. Everything is kind of frozen on the bike. It's still like a humid cold, everything is fogged up, really humid and moist. So it's kind of yeah, you get up and you're a little colder than you're used to at that
Yeah,
time of
putting the
year.
shoes on, you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, I had to put foil over my toes a few times because I was just too cold to
Oh, that's a
pedal.
good hack. I never thought of that. Yeah, like just like aluminum foil.
You know the emergency blankets?
Yeah, yeah.
These ones I cut out like rectangles and I just wrapped my feet in them and I put them in my shoes and it worked really good.
That's cool. Good idea. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe make some little booties next time. Like just get
Yeah, yeah.
one, cut it out, put a few stitches in it, make it sew it up so it could work like a little booty. And
Just after a little bit, the kind of aluminum finished
oh
wore
yeah,
off. I'm not sure where it went, but maybe I'll try to find something that might not get into my skin as much. But yeah, it worked out for the time being.
yeah, yeah. Now you have some weird disease. Nobody will know about it. And they're like, what the hell happened to you?
You have something in your blood that's never been seen. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Any mechanical issues or big problems along the way? Things that you guys had to deal with?
My dad slashed his tire, which we were able to plug. I slashed my tire as well, but on the sidewall, which took a little more time to seal. Other than that, no, not really.
Did you sew
To
it
be
up, or
honest,
you just kind of put sealant and hoped it would close
sealant and plugs.
and
Yeah,
plugs?
3 plugs and it worked. It was just when the tire would crush, the sidewall would bend a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time where sealant would push out a little. But after a while, it's sealed up by itself. And I have GX AXS in the back, my derailleur.
Oh,
I
okay.
never really got it to work as my mechanical GRX worked on my other bike, and you can't really adjust it. You can, but I don't know if my derailleur hanger was a little crooked. It didn't seem like it, but I had a hard time
Mm.
getting really good shifting, but I can't call that a problem. It worked out.
Yeah. I mean, I installed GX AXS this last summer, and what a game changer! Like, it's just makes life so easy. Like,
Yeah,
unless it's
yeah.
not shifting well, but just in terms of like with your hands and not like wearing down your thumb pushing a button, or like I use flat bars. You're using drops, I assume.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So with drop bars, it's even worse, right? Like levering your hand all the time to like shift. I find that after a while, like you start to feel a bit of pain, and I assume
Yeah.
painless, easy.
Yeah, it was good for that for sure. And the gear ratio that you can get to, like I had 32 in the front and 10 to 52 in the back. So it gave us plenty of room because we didn't want to have to pedal really slow and hard on these
Yeah, yeah.
hard climbs. If you can make it easy on your legs, the longer it'll make you'll be able to go for longer and easier. painless basically.
What do you use? So if you got the GX on the back, what are you using for shifters? Because you need a road shifter, right? Or
They're
is it...
compatible with SRAM.
Oh yeah. So which one do you
Yeah.
use? Is it Force then? Or?
No, Rival.
Oh, Rival. Okay.
Yeah, Rival.
Nice. Okay. I've been thinking about doing it for my gravel bike too, and the decision is like, okay, do I go with the 2x on the gravel bike, or do I go with the 1x and put GX with a nice big fat cassette? I haven't decided yet, so I haven't done it. I'm still kind of thinking about it.
I feel you because I would have a hard time picking for my gravel bike as well. I have 2x in the front, and I kind of like it. Whereas 1x, you have to find the right gear ratio if you want to make it work for everything.
Yeah, and right now I'm using a 1x, and I think I have a 46 in the back, and I just wish it was a little bit bigger. And there's some times where I hit hills, and especially if I'm like, I have my daughter in a chariot behind me or something, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is brutal. Like, so I just kind of wish I had a little bit more gearing, but maybe 2x electronic, I think might be a good way to go, because it's just, you never have the issues you have with shifting on like mechanical, like 2x mechanical. It gets annoying as soon as it wears in a bit. It's always like ticking and skipping and tough decisions. So what are some, like, did you guys meet any people that really stood out to you on the trip, or
lots of people, but the highlight was that lady from New York or northern New York, and she was 67 years old.
oh wow.
Was in a pretty big car crash back then, and was not handicapped, but she was kind of, you could tell that she was stiff just even by walking. But she made all of our bags with Dyneema ourselves. She made everything was self-made, and she was loving life. Like when you meet somebody that shines, that is just, you feel how happy they are to be at a place, and it's not forced. It's just the aura around them that's transpiring. And so that lady we had a lot of fun with, and that's the one that we saw after our peanut butter incident. And she was like, I thought you guys were how can I say, well, she basically told us that we were idiots for going there. So she's a kind of punchy lady, but very nice.
She's saying, like, you should have just waited. Like, you should know better.
Yeah, exactly. You should know better. That's what I was looking for. But lots of great people. I think when you get into the Great Divide, you have to have a passion for it. It's not the kind of thing that you can throw yourself at and just, if you don't like it, you won't finish it, I don't think. So everyone we saw, we're happy to be there, and the feeling of being lucky to be there as well, to appreciate life. Basically, everyone had that, so that's good also.
Yeah. And does it also finish in Antelope Wells, just like the Tour Divide does? It does, right?
Yeah. It gets back on pretty much the same route. I forget where, but yes, it finishes in the same place, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. 100 miles from anywhere close by or something.
Yeah. But Jeff, the guy that does a shuttle, he has a ranch there in Ichida, the town. Yeah, he came and picked us up, and great persona as well. He was a great man to meet. He drove us to El Paso, brought us to a bike shop. We had the bike boxes there and stuff.
So you didn't go to the ranch, or?
No, it was closed because he had probably problems with his septic tanks and water and stuff like that. So he didn't want people to go there at that time.
Yeah.
But the community center in Ichida is open, and he also kind of runs. He's on the board there, so we went there, and yeah, it was good too.
Nice. And were there any people that you guys rode with like consistently throughout the adventure, like, or that you saw again and again and
again and again? Yes, yeah. we didn't ride with people so much because trips like this, you find your own pace. You know, I'm with my dad. We know how we ride. We know it's easy to push yourself a little over your limits when you're with
Mhm.
somebody, you know. So we kind of kept it to ourselves. I think
Okay.
everyone is like that though. If you start to go a bit faster than they want to go, they're just gonna drop and say, "Hey, we'll see you later" or something like that. But
Hmm.
we definitely uh, leapfrog a lot of people over time because they'd ride longer in the day. We'd ride a little faster, but not as long. So yeah, a few people that we saw a few times.
Nice. Any big fights between you? I can imagine if I was out with my dad, there would be well, probably either we'd be swinging at each other eventually, or there'd be lots of swear words going back and forth. I don't know how it is with you and your dad. Like, any big arguments?
No, we knew that we were getting along because it's not our first trip together, you know, but that's one thing. Like, I have really good friends that I bike with here, and I know even though they're my best friends that I would never do this with them. And my dad was the guy that I knew. Like, we think the same way, we have the same goal, we train the same way, and of course, with everyone, there's going to be a little hitching from time to time, but the key with that is to be straight, you know, to talk
Yeah,
when there's something, not to be angry in your head and carry it all day. It's just like, hey, I don't like
yeah.
this. I think we should do this. What do you think? And figure it out on the spot and pretty quickly. That makes it less frustrating for the both of you.
True. And what about food? Like, what was your system? I mean, you can only carry so many electrolytes, so I'm assuming you don't like carry a whole bunch of little packs of Noon or
No,
Scratch or whatever. And
uh, I was expecting to go through more grocery stores and stuff like that. So it ended up being a little more gas station food, like you can imagine.
yeah,
Bean burritos, stuff like this. Gatorade when we could, but we didn't rely on it so much. So we ended up just having a gas station diet that worked for us and tried to eat healthy stuff when we could as well, like fruit and veggies are really important too.
hmm,
But the most important part was the calorie intake. That's the only thing that we wanted to get as much calorie. Like I lost 25 pounds on this trip. I had a little
dang.
more than my dad to lose, but my dad was shredded already and he lost close to 15 pounds.
Yeah, your dad is in
And
extremely good shape for like
yeah, yeah, very
for an older dude. How old is he? I'm guessing
63.
55, 60. Okay, 63. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's looking really fit. I saw some pictures. It's like, damn, that's his dad.
yeah,
Like, oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah. A lot of people didn't think that we
My dad's a
were
big guy.
father and
He's like
son.
260 pounds.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think that we were father and son because he looks pretty young. He has almost as many white hairs that I do, gray hairs than I do. So people thought that we were friends, and he took training very seriously, and he did a lot. So I didn't have to wait for him.
Yeah,
I had to tell him many times, like, yo, I'll take a gear out, you know, I'll go a gear lower because I can't go as fast as you go going uphill, you know.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like,
Oh, he was just,
just yeah, cruising, and
yeah,
like he says at his age, he doesn't know if he's gonna be able to do this much longer, although
yeah.
we would like to. So for him, it was a dream come true, and even doing this with his son, I think for him and for me as well, but pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. Like, I mean, it's a ride like this is not easy at any age, and like you mentioned, your dad's medical conditions, and I guess he knew where he needs to focus. He knew he needs to be in shape physically because he's got other things that can affect him, right? So if
Yeah,
the legs are there, then you just have to deal with the known factors, right?
yeah, and that's why I reached out to you to be on this podcast as well, because I think it's pretty good to see that even though you've had accidents like two brain aneurysm and an open heart surgery, it's not like a broken arm, you know, it's a pretty big deal. And
Mm-hmm.
everything is possible when you put your mind into it. And at any age, like I tend to be a little more to rush things. And he was like, "You're only 33, don't rush it. I'm 63 and I've done this with you. So if you have trips in mind in the future, you don't have to do them the next year. Like you, you can take your time and enjoy. Don't be stressed.
Yeah,
And
I think
so,
when you're young, you kind of, it's funny how when we're young, everything's a rush, right? And only I think as you age, you start to realize like you don't have to go so fast. You don't have to like
no,
pound through everything. You can enjoy the moments.
yeah, I'm always like, I want it yesterday. I want it yesterday. And he's like, take it easy. It's no stress. And uh, lots of people on the divide, any age, anybody. We saw some guy that some father that was his son, 12-year-old, and they did it all. There's no age, there's no. So yeah, I find it inspiring to be with my dad because it's just after everything, you don't have to settle for your condition. You can push through. Not always, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, they're not going to be around forever. So it's such amazing stories that you can share with your own kids one day, and
Yeah,
talk about what their grandpa did and whatnot, right? Like and just memories for yourself as well.
yeah, because after his accident, he was kind of called I don't know the right word in English, but disabled. Like he wasn't able to go to work anymore, and so he's basically retired since he was 38. So he needed to find something in life earlier on that he was passionate about, and that was different sports, and
Mm-hmm.
to go above his limits and stuff like this. So I've always grown up in that kind of mentality of don't be scared to push your limit. Don't be scared to do a little more than you used to, because that's how you grow up, and that helped out a lot too. And such a good person to go with, because I'm more stressed about situations than he is. So he's the perfect person to be like, just take it easy, think about it. It's gonna be all right. And I'm like, you're right. I'm just an idiot right now. And that's not the way to do it.
Yeah. So 38 years old is when he had his first brain aneurysm.
Yeah, at
Ah,
work.
so
And
young.
yeah, very young. And yeah, 38. And I was at work, and that's why he was able to get he still gets a paycheck because it was related to stress that he had at work at the
Mm-hmm.
time. But he had a second one a few years later at work still. And so after that, they called it done. They were like, you're not going to come into work anymore.
Yeah. What was he doing at the time? Like, what was his job?
Uh, he was working for Hilton, uh, directors of computers. I don't know, IT, I
Okay.
guess,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and they were implementing a new system, turning
Wow.
from paper to like computer and all that stuff back then. So that's what he was doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which he always hated.
Yeah. All right. Well, then he went on to disability payments and stuff, and could focus on his health and like
Yeah,
recovery through
exactly.
other means, right?
And that allowed him to see us grow fully, because he was at home and he could be in the moment with us. Whereas before it was always at work and doing long shifts and stuff, and he felt like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't see us as much. So in the end, like if you talk to him today, he's pretty happy about what happened, although it was really hard. But he's happy about that, and
Yeah.
so it's
There's
good for
like the
bad for
silver
good.
lining to the dark cloud, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
One brother. Yeah, he still skis. He doesn't bike as much, but he's in university for forest engineering.
Okay.
I don't
Maybe.
know if
I don't
that's
know.
right. Yeah,
There's-
he's gonna take care of the future of the trees.
Yeah. 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 And
So
how does
yeah.
he feel about your guys' trips? Like, what are his thoughts? Is a little bit of jealousy there, or
No, I wouldn't say he's jealous. I don't even know if he would like to be there. Probably. He does a lot of winter camping stuff, like hiking and stuff
yeah,
like this. But I think he's focused on school right now. I don't think there's not any jealousy. He's really happy for us, and my mother is also really happy for
yeah,
us. Although she's much more concerned than,
yeah?
than we
Well, I
are.
mean, like, I don't mean jealousy like in a negative. I mean, like, just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
of the
yeah.
kind of like envious, desire to be kind of wishing he
Kind of
could be
the
there too.
fear of missing out. Yeah. But no,
Hmm.
our mother, our mom is the one that's concerned the most about us,
Yeah,
and
especially when you get
but
somewhere
she's
where there's
happy.
no phone connections and stuff, and you can't get through. And
Yeah, we had the inReach, and I had to text her every day if we didn't have service. But that's what I told her. I was like, if you rely on that one text every day, it can also be bad, you know, because I'll text you if there's something wrong. If I don't text you, it's not because there's something bad, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I would have liked to do the opposite. I'm not texting you if it's good. If it's really bad, I'll text you. If it's not from my phone. But we did that. She was happy.
yeah, yeah. Because I can imagine how my mom would be in this thing. Yeah, there must be some stress there.
Yeah. She was happy when we came back.
And yeah, so do you don't get out winter camping at all or anything like that?
No, not so much. After my accident, I kind of made peace with winter, and I was like, I'd rather not have snow anymore for myself. But this is not where we live, so
Hmm.
I go on walks. That's basically, I shovel my car. That's about how I take. And yeah,
There you go. And you wait until this warm weather comes so you can ride again.
exactly. But yeah, no, I don't do much nowadays in the winter. I focus on training and working as much as I can so I can take time off in the summer.
That's right, because you said you do freelance, right? So the more you do now, the less you can, or the you can justify taking time off later, right?
Yeah, that's what I kind of divide my year, and I try to work as much as I can when I don't have anything to do, and that's what I do. It's kind of a good place because I'm making less money by not working, but I'm having such a good time in life that I think it's worth it all.
Yeah. There's always going to be
Yeah.
time later where you can just work and hate life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But you know, after a trip like this, it's always, oh, what's next? You always have something in the back of your mind. And so for next summer, I think I'll give a little bit of time. I won't do much of long trips because my girlfriend might leave me if I do another one right now. I'll spend the summer with her, but then in the next not this summer, the next one
2026,
I
yeah.
2026, I'm thinking of another trip. So we'll see. We'll see what happens then.
Do you find do you find it hard to come back to reality at the end of 44 days out there, and you come back
Yeah.
to Montreal to well, I guess smallish apartment or small house, and which is huge compared to the tent, obviously, but back to reality.
Very much so, especially for myself. It's not even close to depression, but it's always like, it's over. And that one, like when we were at the gate at the border in Antelope, my dad and I looked at it. We're like, we wish it was longer, you know? When you start the first week, you're like, oh, we're so far from the goal. But when you're there, you're like, it's already over.
Yeah,
And then you have to come back to reality, and it's good and it's bad at the same time for uh I don't know. It's always nice to be on a trip, you know, once you're settled in, as especially after a few 20, 30 days, it's just your life, your routine, it's
hmm,
everything is figured out, so it's not really a like people don't camp ever or don't bike pack. They're like, oh, you're camping every day. It's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal after a little while.
yeah,
You know, you get used to it. It's not like it's a pain in the ass all that much. And
yeah,
so yeah, coming back to reality is always little downer, but that's what I said. Like it's always on to the next one. You start the minute you're back, you start thinking about the next one.
yeah.
We were on the plane. Go ahead.
No, you go.
We were on the plane and my dad had bought gear for the next trip already. He's like, because we saw people with the bladder that fits in the bottom of the frame, the plastic
Hmm.
bladder. He bought it on the plane on the way back, you know,
Oh,
so
no way.
it was obviously not going to be over.
That's awesome. Did your girlfriend find like a personality change or like see a big difference in you? I mean, it can go two ways, right? It could be like a big difference through this adventure and growth, or it could also be like back to reality and like minor depression or.
No, 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 I wouldn't say so because it was on her first trip as well, so
Yeah.
I kind of knew what we were getting into. But she sees it like crazier than it is for sure, because she bikes a little bit around town and stuff like this, but not like we do. And
Mhm.
so she kind of just pushes it aside. She's like, go do your thing. When you come back, you'll be with me, and that's fine. But it's kind of a separate from her life, and I have that going on, but she's still here. She works and stuff like this, so she doesn't worry about it too much, and I don't change. I'm still the same. If anything, it made me grow a little better than I was before,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little more understanding of how you have to be uh, waking up every morning and feel that you're lucky to be alive and breathing.
Mhm.
So all
Yeah.
for the better.
So 2026. Oh, actually, I had another question. You did mention you work in video stuff. Was this something on this trip that you shot a lot of video, and you're thinking to make something out of it, or how does that work with you when it's your job?
I took a lot of pictures, but it being my job, I wanted to put it aside. I didn't want to
Yeah.
put myself in a situation where I thought about it too much. So I carried a decent camera that I love, so I took pictures, and to me, like we're gonna print the pictures in a book and stuff like this. So to me, that was a way to disconnect from my work field as well. So no, we took a few videos. My dad had his GoPro, like a dad.
Yeah.
And, hey, Dad, how are you doing today, this morning? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good.
Get
I'm
the shit out of
I
my
need my
face.
coffee. I need my coffee before you do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't do much of video.
What kind of
Lots of
camera do you
photos.
use when you're on a trip
Fuji
like this?
X100F. It's like a old looking camera, but it's digital. But yeah, Fuji
What's it called again?
X100.
Fuji
Yeah, yeah, X100.
X100.
Recommend to everybody.
I'm gonna I'm
Easy.
gonna open a tab just to check it out.
Yeah, yeah. It's the old one, the gray one. They have the black one now, but
X100F VI what?
F.
F.
Yeah,
I'll
pretty
check that out
heavy,
later. I'm
but
always thinking about upgrading little things. I have a point and shoot, but it's not the best one. But I mean, it's better than nothing. So yeah.
yeah, this one has a pretty good feel to it. The camera applies a little grain to it. It looks the contrast and stuff. Fuji's always been good for this kind of stuff.
Mm,
So yeah, I figured that the pictures you didn't have to do much to them afterwards. It just puts a stamp in time that's pretty accurate. So I
oh,
liked it
nice,
for this. Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And so 2026, you said you have some thoughts. Do you want to share what they might be, or it's still like really early
Yeah,
stages?
I thought Silk Road, but the political situation might not be the greatest, or you know about the Silk Road, I think,
Well,
right?
yeah, yeah. Like Silk Road or Silk Road Mountain Race. Like you mean just like riding the Silk Road?
Yeah, riding Silk Road, I think would be mine. I'm not sure I would like to get into racing, or maybe too early to tell. But yeah, Silk Road I would love to do. And Quebec Traverse, I don't know if you know that route too, from
Yeah,
Rouyn to
I know.
Val-d'Or.
What's his name? Terrier, something like that. I
Yeah, I
forget
think
his name.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's on my
uh,
website. Yeah.
it's like
And then there's
7,000
the
kilometers.
Great Canadian or the Great Northern Bikepacking Route.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of stuff. The Eastern Divide, the European Divide. There's a lot
Hmm.
of stuff to choose from. Just depends how much time I'm willing to put into.
Yep.
And biking in Quebec, you're always kind of in the forest. It's different. You don't see as much stuff as you can do in other places, but
Hmm.
I still like it. And deer flies are a big
Oh,
thing. You can't
fuck, I
go at
hate those
any
things.
time of the year.
I hate those. Oh man, like they
Yeah,
are the bane of everyone's existence. And like this year, I didn't
crazy.
actually see many horseflies, but deer flies were unreal. The number, you know.
Yeah. When is the best time to go bike around like the Canadian Shield and all these places, would you say? September
Never.
almost?
Maybe September. Probably, honestly, like I had the Grand Depart set for September. It was small. I don't really work enough to promote it. But yeah, September is beautiful. There's no bugs, right? So it's a perfect
Yeah, yeah.
time. And I think early, like May, like late May, the mosquitoes are starting to come. If they're not out in full force, it's good because mosquitoes are much more manageable than like deer flies, you know? It's like, just gotta get in your tent and try not to let them all in. But I don't know, like I went in August and the deer flies were insane. Like every hill, there's like 5 more that join their friends and they're like, hey guys, free buffet. And then you hit the next hill and there's like 20 of them and then 30 and then, it's brutal.
And they don't seem to react to DET, the thing that's in
Honestly, I just like swap my hands as I'm climbing and switch hands and I don't know. I don't know if there's I want to try those dragonflies. People are buying these clip-on dragonflies.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think they started somebody got the idea in farming and they put them around like on the cows and stuff, and so that they don't go around the head of the cow and then they don't bother the cow and they don't run as much and lose weight and take longer to grow to full size. So
good natural way.
I don't know if that's
the problem.
Yeah, and I don't think a cow cares if they're biting them on the ass. I don't think they feel it as much. But anyways, so I thought a couple of those. Maybe for next year I'll try that and see if that changes the game a bit. But
I think even colors of the shirts that you wear. My dad had a red shirt and it seemed to be much, much worse than a lighter shirt. Yeah, because he had a tan one and he switched that same day to a red one and he had like 1,000 more on him. And he ended up being bitten all over the place, where for myself, it wasn't so bad. So we figured that no red shirt the next time we go up there. And also we'll probably try to leave our clothing on the clothesline for like a week before this, so it doesn't smell like fresh, cleaned, Maybe that might help, but
I remember,
maybe not.
and I wonder if things like banana, like when I was in the army, I remember people saying like, don't eat bananas before you go in the forest, before you go on like weekend adventures or
I've heard that,
exercises, because the mosquitoes are attracted to the potassium. So I wonder if there's anything to that.
Maybe
no deodorants, or like you said, you wash your stuff and then let it really air out to get, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what the good solution is, man. We're in Canada. Suck it up. Like the way I look at it is like they bite the living hell out of me, but it doesn't really start to hurt for about 3 days. So if as long as I finish before that, then I can suffer later.
Because I really want to go do the Canadian Chill XL that you drew. It looks like a sick route as well.
Yeah, it's been it was fun. I had to cut some pieces last year and just I wanted to get home to my kid, and but the parts I cut off I had already ridden multiple times, and I was like, all right, let's call this an adventure and go home.
Yeah, the podcast that you made about it, where you go through the entire track, is that the one, XL? Yeah. I was happy to see this because a few. It's nice to have little intel of what's where and.
I thought that really worked out well with how I did it like this with video, but then could screen share, and it was the first time I've done something like that, so I definitely will consider doing more of that in the future.
It was very good, especially that zone is kind of spread out. It's kind of hard to get resources sometimes. Not water, but food can be odd a bit. Yeah,
especially if you hit something. It depends if you're trying to go fast and not stop, then you can end up hitting places at the wrong time of the day and have nothing and everything's closed. But I guess if it's daytime, for the most part, your chances of resupply are a little bit easier. But especially up from that, like Fermeneuve to Maniwaki, there's not a lot. Like and it's rough and it's tough and challenging, and
that might be for upcoming summer. I think that's going to be a shorter one that I'll be able to manage with my girlfriend for sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let me know if you need you're going to park in this area. Course. You're always welcome. I have a big driveway, so lots of car storage spots. Yeah.
Good to know.
I'll start a free shuttle service to the start point just for the hell of it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Anyways, cool, man. So it's really nice talking to you. And any things you want to chat about that I kind of didn't think about, I forgot about?
No, that sums it all. To be honest, and if anybody's listening, go do the Great Divide. Any way you want, go do the Great Divide. It's something that you're never gonna regret, and it's worth every single kilometer that you're gonna go through.
Yeah, and do you see any people out there with like little kids?
We saw one father with his 12-year-old, but not so much. I assume that some people do sections with kids, but
Hmm.
I know that some people have done it like with a trolley in the back before.
Yeah.
But no, I
I think
haven't
like,
seen.
well, two terrain, they make a single wheeled one that's like
Yeah,
really nice for pulling kids, but it's so expensive. I keep trying to think I need to get them to give me one for free. And
but
but
but you'd
I would
have to
love to
reroute
like,
at some place
yeah.
because the mountain bike tracks are too harsh for a kid to be in the back unless they're on a.
Well, that one's full suspension. It's got suspension and
Oh,
everything.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Might be possible then.
but yeah, I have my plan is 2027, 28 will be a year off work, and
Nice.
to go do a bunch of either little adventures or something really big. And by little adventures, I mean things like go ride the Tour Divide and then come home for a couple months and then go ride the, I don't know, Eastern Divide. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't planned it
Nice.
out. But
Nice.
by little adventures, I mean like 1 month kind of things, and
Yep.
and then spend a bit of time with bike touring with my daughter, and then spend some time doing some bike packing stuff by myself, or
Good idea
most
for
likely by
sure.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah, good idea. The Eastern Divide looks a bit more rough than the Great Divide, I think, but
yeah. I don't think I'd take
Great
my
Divide.
daughter on that.
No, I don't think. I know this one guy that did it. Well, I don't know him, but I followed him when he did it, Caleb, and he said it's pretty rough in the Appalachian and stuff like that. It's not the easiest trails to
Mhm.
go through, but again, it's a challenge and probably nice to do.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably pretty good. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what my plan will be, but I've got to apply for it still. I think I have 2 months to apply, but to put in like the 2/3. So I'll work 2 more years and then take a year off. So that's the hope if it gets approved.
Nice.
And if it doesn't, well, I don't know what I'll do.
It will, it will.
It will. It better get approved.
Yeah,
All right, man. Well, thanks for your time. It was great chatting. And yeah, man, onwards. Here's to more adventures between with you and your father and his
thank you
health.
so
And
much, Chris.
yeah, keep in touch.
Yep, keep in touch for sure. Thanks, man.
Cool. You don't have to hang up, but I will end the recording. So talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Sounds good. Bye.